Hello, my name is Dr. Rachel Grady, and I'm honored to be part of the 2026 EAB Rising Higher Education Leadership Fellowship. I also serve as Assistant Dean and Director of Student Accessibility Services at Worcester State University. Today, I'm going to talk about starting a peer mentoring program for students with disabilities. National data tells us that at least 20% of undergraduate college students have some sort of disability. Student Accessibility Services at Worcester State is getting close to that threshold of at least 20% of students registered with the office, but we know that there are a variety of students who are not connected to the office for a variety of reasons, including fear and stigma. Professional staff do a wonderful job of facilitating access, but we know that that access can only go so far. So building a peer leadership program can help to foster leadership skills in the mentors and mentees, as well as create a sense of belonging and community within the office, while increasing the sense of belonging and community and resource usage and strategy knowledge. These are the questions that I investigated over the course of this fellowship. They include, how can we better retain disabled students and increase persistence? How do we enhance student resource management while building relationships and skills for disabled students at WSU? And what elements make an effective peer mentoring program for students with disabilities? In terms of problems to solve, there are a few. In the K-12 environment, disability accommodations are often managed by parents and guardians or teachers. Students often have limited or no involvement in their IEP or 504 meetings. They may not even know that they have accommodations or be aware of the fact that they can get support through the office. Coming to college is a huge shift. This is because when students are in college, they are legal adults and therefore in charge of managing their disability accommodations themselves. This can be daunting and overwhelming because parents, guardians, and teachers may have helped them manage previously. In addition to managing accommodations, students are often unfamiliar with the types of supports that exist or about how they can access them. At Worcester State University, we have a variety of services, including a counseling services office that helps with mental health support, a writing center, a Spanish language tutoring center, and a math tutoring center, alongside other resources like health services. Additionally, culturally, students might feel that being disabled is something to be ashamed of, or they might often not identify as having a disability. They may not know anyone else that identifies as being disabled. And so by connecting students to their disabled peers who help them navigate advocacy, we begin to foster relationships and community around the disability identity. In terms of recruitment of our peer mentors, we at Worcester State have a chapter of the International Honor Society called Delta Alpha Pi, which is affectionately known as DAPI. Students are inducted into DAPI each fall after achieving a specific GPA and participating in various club events and other fundraisers. They are eligible to receive honor cords at graduation as well as a pin, and this looks great on a resume. Apart from the DAPI members being our main source of recruitment for our first class of peer mentors, we also want to recruit other interested students based on their GPA. The ultimate goal is to eventually secure funding to help pay our peer mentors and to keep the program going. And I'm going to talk a little bit later in this presentation about some potential avenues for funding in future slides. During the recruitment phase, we also want to set the expectations of professionalism. This includes dress code, punctuality, and behavioral expectations. Also, we want to set the expectation about facilitating resource management and critical thinking rather than just strict content delivery. All of this is going to be geared towards fostering growth in both the mentors and mentees. Some of the solutions and further steps that we would include in this program include pairing peer mentors with professional staff to help them aid in their development. Also, we know that student mentors might hear about situations that they're not equipped to handle or that need referral out to other organizations. We also want to ensure that peer mentors engage in Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act training, or commonly known as FERPA. This will help them protect their confidentiality and learn how to speak about disability issues while maintaining confidentiality of their students. We also want to script some common scenarios, such as students feeling overwhelmed by coursework or unsure how to get back on track if they've fallen behind in their classes. At Worcester State, we have a large number of first-generation students, as well as students from a variety of cultural and ethnic backgrounds, and a lot of different disability experiences. And we would love for that diversity of experience and diversity of student population to be reflected ultimately in our mentor cohort, if possible. And then finally, the last piece is scaffolding career development for both the mentors and mentees. So mentioning that being a peer mentor or mentee can be a great thing to put on a resume, talking about the professional skills that are gained that can translate then into future employment or onto grad school. In terms of the training for our peer mentors, the main thing we want to do is reduce stigma around the disabled identity and ensure that students are hearing the message that there's nothing wrong with having a disability, as this is often contradicted in our normal societal messaging that students get. We've already talked about the confidentiality and FERPA training piece that will go into it, and training on boundary and limit setting. So it would be important to know when to get a professional or refer to counseling services, or if a student discloses a Title IX related incident, how to make those referrals and notify a student that you're a mandated reporter on certain things. Ensuring that mentors know how to read and break down a syllabus is critical to college development, and knowing that the syllabus is really your guide in terms of how to navigate these college classes is critical. Also, giving mentors a really high-level overview of campus resources, so things like health services, the writing, Spanish, and math tutoring centers I mentioned previously, as well as ways to get involved in campus, whether that be through identity clubs or other organizations. Also, ultimately, capturing the professional goals of the mentors and mentees can be really helpful. So that's forecasting to the future. What do you foresee your life looking like outside of the Worcester State bubble, and where do you want to go next, and how can we tailor to that? In terms of steps beyond this fellowship, we have a projected timeline here of what I'm hoping to do. So the next step of my development here is pitching this project to my senior leadership. We're currently in the process of collecting and creating those training materials, which we'll do throughout the summer. Later in the summer, I'll be meeting with advancement and investigating different funding sources, as well as working with my staff within the office to identify staff partners that can be good recruiting partners and mentors for the peer mentors later in the summer. Ideally, the peer mentor training itself would occur in fall of 2026, with the first cohort of mentors and mentees ideally going live in August of 2026. In terms of those potential funding sources that I talked about, working with advancement to secure additional alumni donors or maybe community donors is going to be a large piece of that, as well as looking into grants both nationally and locally for mentorship and leadership opportunities. This year, we're fortunate that we also have an allocation of state success funding, which is earmarked for retention and persistence efforts. So in terms of future directions there, currently we have success funding for 13 months. Hopefully that funding will be renewed year over year, but we don't know that yet. But if that is also a potential direction for future funding. Finally, I just want to say thank you to my EAB mentors, as well as my fellow Rising Leaders cohort. You all have been instrumental in this project and getting it to where it needs to be to present it to my university leadership. I also would like to thank the Worcester State University Student Affairs Executive Leadership Council for nominating me to be in this Rising Leadership Council. cohort. It's been a really great experience, and I'm excited to see where the office goes in terms of peer mentorship, and thank you for your time.